Welcome everyone to Center of Light. Yanavai here with a Valentine's Day special. See people all the time call it Valentine's Day. Welcome to Center of Light midday. Got a really cool presentation for you. I do this every year on Valentine's Day. This is my second year. Today I have a fantastic guest, friend, Broham Sandwich, brother, with me today, Mr. Brian D. Hardin. We're going to be talking about lots of really cool stuff. I usually do a commercial at this time, but we're not going to do that. But I want to tell you a little bit. We'll get right down to Center of Light Radio business. Tell you a little bit about my friend, Mr. Brian Hardin. Before I do that, please share this to your wall. In this forum, you'll see a group of links. One of them will take you to YouTube. Please subscribe to my page. Excuse me. You will always also see a donate button to help support my work. I do this for the love of it. Notify me when Keith goes live. The ellipsis in this forum as well. Click on it. Come see me. Hang out with me in my living room. I want to say thanks to Tom Schaefer at videoshow.live. You can go to videoshow.live and check out all the different programs that he brings into his experience. And Center of Light Radio is there as well. Go check it out. Videoshow.live/center. Looks really cool. But I like hanging out with you on Facebook. I will be checking back with the people on YouTube shortly. Let me tell you about my broham, Mr. Brian. Also, I'm giving readings now for those who may want readings. Contact me. Today, my guest is Mr. Brian D. Hardin. Brian is a gold record producer, filmmaker, spiritual teacher, and lots of other really cool things that we can call him. He probably doesn't care as long as you love him. Brian says, I died and came back. At the age of 16, they now call it a near-death experience. It was a football accident, he says. He had a ruptured spleen, internally bleeding for 7 hours, died on the operating table. He says, I saw the light. I got to review my life as I headed towards the light. What I saw was all of the problems, victories, crisis, joyous, and bad times. Every event that I was to learn and grow from. When I got to the light, there wasn't a white bearded guy named God or anyone else in physical form, only the feeling of God and love. It was beautiful, peaceful, calming, a familiar home, if you will. He was bathed in love, security, and had a deep connection to all. I think we get the idea. Brian was in the business. My computer is giving me a little trouble. I'm going to disengage one of my access points. 1 second, please. That should fix the problem. So without any further ado, Brian's just this well-rounded cat. He's likable. He's very smart. You're going to like him. Broham Sandwich. How you doing, my brother? There he is. Turn your mic off and mute. Unmute your mic. And you were producer?
There we go. No, you asked me to turn it off. I'm sorry.
I did, and thank you. My computer was giving me a little bit of bogged down issue, so I had to cancel one of the shows, but I saw it. Brian, welcome to the show, bro. To my living room and your living room. Let's have some fun.
All right. So today's love. Tell me what love means to you.
Accepting, allowing, and appreciating.
Wow.
That's it.
Wow, and that works for every part of you, right?
And it works, yeah, absolutely. And because in acceptance, there's nothing I need to change. I'm in love with whatever. Allowing it is, I'm not trying to control it. I love it as it is. And appreciating is, I'm choosing to be congruent with that aspect of those things I'm allowing and accepting. I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of the all of it versus using some sort of judgment to quantify it. In fact, I always, you know me, I'm always about definitions. The definition of love is, unconditional love is not conditional, not limited, absolute, pure, unqualified, unconditional surrender, unconditional love. That's what it is for me, Brian. It's leaving things alone.
Many people watching this might not even have the normal, or what they wish was normal relationship going on right now. And they might not have their lover or someone to buy chocolates or a Hallmark card or buy them diamonds or a new Ferrari or whatever, but they do have the ability for self-love. And quite often the reason we don't have a partner in life is because we don't have that self-love intact in the way that where we're giving love so that we'll get love. And so I find as though every act of giving it'll come back. They say in physics, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Well, it happens in spirituality too, that we have to give love in order to get love. And so everything's contagious, including smiles. And so if you're a little depressed today because you don't have everything you want out of your Valentine's Day, well, then start loving yourself. Get that unconditional love and start, fake the smile. Go out and share that fake smile with someone else, and then they'll give you a real smile back. And it could be a stranger in the supermarket. You'll just smile at them, and it'll come back to you, and then you'll smile, and it comes back and forth. And so, that unconditional love is really what that's the root of everything. Don't you agree? Yeah.
It is. It's home base. I was trying to find a title for this show that would be all encompassing. And what popped into my head immediately was, what's love got to do with it? I just played a Tina Turner soundbite for the audience.
Fantastic.
but I think it's the right title, because what's love got to do with it? It has everything to do with it. But I think it's important we begin to distinguish and understand what real love actually is versus attachment. If you ask any high-level spiritual teacher, for example, Sadhguru says, he was being interviewed and someone says, Sadhguru, is hate the opposite of love? And he says, no. He says, attachment is more the opposite of love, because in attachment, you have to change to be what I want you to be. And that's not what love is. So now we're defining what what love really is. And it's unconditional, absolute, unquantified. You don't pigeonhole it. It's something that is, God is eternal, endless, boundless. As soon as you bring something and put it into a box, you take the God out of it. How's that?
Well, I did a little video about a month ago, and I spoke about love and peace and God all being a verb. It's an action. So, love is an action. It's giving love, getting love, and it's accepting that you don't even get love back, but still giving it anyway. And then same with peace, same with God, same with life and laughter, and it's an action. It's a verb. So give love.
Listening audience, is the sound working now? I think I forgot to unmute my mic.
Oh, fantastic.
Let me make sure it's working here, Brian. Give me a second.
I'll make sure on my end, too. I've got a second computer here. Hopefully you're going to be pinging back. Maybe I'll feed it back on purpose. Oh, yeah, it's going. Yeah. There's a little delay. It's working perfectly.
You're getting the sound. Wonderful. Darlene says she wasn't getting it. Maybe there was just something on her end.
Okay.
So, Brian, let's get down to some love business.
Well, let's start with that unconditional love. Whenever you don't love yourself, you start treating other people as if you treat yourself. They say do unto others as you would have done to you. Well, if you hate yourself, then you hate everybody. You hate everything. You expect the worst. So whenever we say unconditional, you say there's no conditions for love, and that goes for yourself too. There's no condition for your own self-love. How do you treat yourself? Do you doubt yourself? Are you in fear? Are you in anger and frustration and self-doubt? And so then you doubt everybody and everything, and you don't trust the world. And so that basic prayer, I am, is the basic prayer. That is God. So I am worthy or I am unworthy. I am great or I am horrible. That's your prayer, and that's what you're putting out. That's what you get back, right?
Yeah, because if God lives in the root, is the root of our core, the essence of our being, and it's the light, the singularity that points out, that expresses itself in all directions, 360 to infinity, any filter we have in the way gets projected on this 3D screen we call reality or life. And so when we begin to remove all the stuff, the thoughts, the I'm angry, I'm jealous, I'm this, I'm that, because all that stuff gets projected out into the world and you call it your life. And that's not who you are whatsoever, but it seems so convincing as we gaze into the world that that's who I am, because everything in the world is shouting back at us. That's exactly what you believe you are, and therefore I am. Or you are.
You know, they say we have something like 80,000 thoughts in a day. You know, every 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, you change your thoughts. And most of those, like 92.7%, I don't know, I'm picking a number, but a lot of those are the same thoughts you had the day before, all that self-doubt. So what you feed yourself, that's your self-love, what you're feeding it, and then that's what you become. So if you want to manifest joy, well then be joy. Match your frequency to that of what you want. Start changing your frequency, you know. I mean, you and I have talked about that a few times. That's will you take over on that one?
How to attract what you want?
Yeah.
Being, there is no other way. Everything you have in your life, good, bad, pro, con, abundance or lack, you're not really attracting it. Because we're on a linear timeline from here and we move forward, we think it takes however long for this thing to show up. That's not the way it works, because the way it works in truth and divine reality is, as you are, it already is. You're just opening up the window that what we call time will bring it to you. So in every moment that you are, how you are, is coming down the pike for you. And now as you begin to expand your spiritual muscles and you do the work, just because you're complete with a lesson doesn't mean it's complete with your ass. Because there's one other time it's coming back, because I finished it today and I'm done with it. That one time that you're done with it is still going to make its way to you to say, are you sure you're done with me yet? Now how you react in that moment can change your destiny. And then once you're cool with it, when it shows its face up again, now the garden hose becomes clear. The water begins to move through the dirt-clogged hose, and then the cycle becomes pure. You're done with that lesson. You're done with that experience. Now you get a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and after 6 months, they say bye-bye. You may have peace with it, but the idea is it always is. It always is what you are.
And are you enough is really the question, you know?
Right. Because and being enough is everything. Yeah, and being enough is the all we've all been searching for.
Yeah. Wow.
What do you suggest, Brian, to help people fall more into alignment?
Well, for me, it's a morning ritual. It's a habit, you know, just like you make any habit in your life, you know, brushing your teeth, you have dirty teeth, you know, if you don't brush your teeth. Well, if you don't take care of your mind and your feelings, you have dirty feelings and dirty mind, you know, and your dirty polluted mind and your dirty polluted feelings are a habit, you know. So what is your habit of clearing that? For me, I actually wake up every morning just like, I don't know if anybody has a dog or a little puppy or whatever. A little dog every morning wakes up happy, excited for the day, and yet we get up in our minds so much that we get polluted with all the judgment and all the thought as a habit, and we get so polluted with that we think, oh, I've got to rush off to be a certain time, some location, and so we're hurrying, and then we drive directly the same way and get upset at everybody in our way getting there, and we make these horrible habits of time, of stress, of self-induced ugliness and anger and frustration when you can be in joy. You can be, and so I wake up and I say well, and I also go to sleep to kind of doing the same pattern. I feel my feelings first. And usually I'm holding on to stress.
I got to stop you there. That is magical.
Uh-oh.
A lot of people, you do this on purpose. You feel your feelings.
Yeah.
You stop, you check in, and you feel yourself where you are in the wobble. If there's no wobble, great. Listening audience, I think that is phenomenal. Right now, go get a pen and paper and write it on your ceiling so that when you wake up, you feel your feelings, because then you can redirect if you know where your base is. That's phenomenal, bro.
Oh yeah, please. You have to tune in. And yeah, and so you're stressed. You know, your stomach has got butterflies and gut instincts and all messed up. Everybody's digestive system messed up because we're not digesting and releasing. And not only the mental, or not only the physical crap, but the mental crap and the feeling emotional crap. And so our gut gets wrenched because of that. Our heart is broken. If you ever had a broken heart, it actually feels right there. Pain in the neck, it actually happens right in the neck, you know? And so what you think, what you feel, what you believe are all connected. The thinking is the mind, the feelings the body, and the belief is the spirit. So, you know, we got to connect all those. And most of us are so up in our head, we were taught we are what we think, but we forgot that we're actually what we feel. And so there we go back to self-love. If you're not feeling love for yourself, you can't have love for anybody else or anything. And so you're just going to go out and do unto others before they do unto you. You're not going to open your heart up and open your space up. And so people are going to treat you like you're a jerk because you are, you know, right. And you get it back, you know.
Something I wrote recently, one of my late night memes, which is, you had mentioned the heart being broken. It feels like in your chest. Well,
yeah,
it's sort of an anxiety, because if God is the heart, they're synonymous. God can't break. So what really happens when someone says, I have a broken heart, the heart can't break. It's the mind and its expectations that crack. So our expectation is what causes the pain. And because of the pain, it's because we're not living in unconditional love mode, which is nothing to do with mind at all. That's why when you're in unconditional love mode, it doesn't mean that if you lose a child that you move into some sort of space of grief and stuff like that. I'm talking about the heart just breaking. There's truly a big difference between loving someone and burdening them with expectation. That's a cross I don't want to ever carry again. We all have. What you doing, the ABCs?
No. I'm gonna write out a little list here that we're gonna go over. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah,
we're gonna have fun. Please keep telling me.
I thought I finished my statement. Hello, everybody. In the chat
we're
room.
Done.
Yeah,
okay. Well, now for the oatmeal commercial. Are you sponsored by oatmeal?
Not yet. Maybe
not yet.
maybe my 70s when I'm taking Geritol and I got no teeth. I eat lots of oatmeal.
Fantastic. All right. Well, there are 5 things that I normally discuss when I drop into the feeling thing, and one is love. First of all, we've been talking about that unconditional love, that you have to love yourself first before you love anybody else. If you don't love yourself, you can't love anybody else. You can't expect anything in return, and you get what you give. So if you don't love yourself, you don't get love for yourself, and you aren't giving anybody else love for yourself, for themselves. And so if you can't love anybody else until you actually love yourself, right? So love. And obviously today's a big one. You know, everybody's expecting, oh, I didn't get my roses, I didn't get my chocolates, I didn't get a million little cards. I remember 3rd grade, we had these little boxes. Everybody made these little boxes, and then you'd make out these little drawings and little hearts and cards, and you put them to all your little Valentines. Well, that was pitiful because, you know, one or two girls got everything and one or two boys got everything and everybody else got nothing, you know, and it just made you hate yourself even more. It made for this competition and whatever
like Charlie
Yeah.
Brown, I got a rock.
Yeah, I got a rock.
I got a rock.
Yeah, and it was all competition. And, you know, obviously this Valentine's Day is partially created. I have the numbers here somewhere. It was like billions here, $18.2 billion of total expected spending on this day. And it's an average of 136.57 cents per person. $136 per person is spent in the United States on Valentine's Day on crap, right? And instead of spending that on relationships and on connection and on things that matter, we end up buying, you know, a thing. Here's my thing to represent my love for you. And really what people want is a connection. They want a hug. They want attention. They want to be listened to and be cared for. And so it doesn't take any money to do that. And we can do that with ourselves. Give yourself attention. Give yourself care. And that self-care and that self-love is exactly what we're talking about. So there's our Valentine's. If you don't have a Valentine's, look inside yourself. Make yourself the Valentine, you know? And
I love what you said, because if you don't have self-care and you don't have self-love and you're looking for a partner, and because you really don't care about yourself as much as you can, the person who wants to take you out really doesn't care that much about you either, and you keep staying and wondering why you don't have a happy relationship, because you're allowing someone to treat you from a level of your non-self-care. Because if you cared about yourself and some knucklehead comes in your experience, you're done with that. You're done. So out the way, out the way, out the way, out the way. The karmic cycle keeps coming, keeps coming. The garden hose gets clear. Guess what? You start attracting new people into your life that are validating your self-love, your self-worth, your self-value. Appreciation goes up. Acceptance, allowance, appreciation goes up.
oh yeah, love is the currency. You spoke about that before.
Yeah. It
currency.
is the currency of the universe.
It's the energy.
I need to write that down.
It appreciates.
Love is the gold currency of the universe.
Yeah, so well, you and I have talked about this before, which is the answer to every question. What is it? Love.
Yeah, right.
So, so here's my list. Hopefully, I'll hold this up so you can see it. Love is number one. Love is number one. Joy is number two. Innocence, fearlessness, and gratitude. And they're in no particular order. How I came about this is a long story. We'll come back to how I came about this. It was gifted to me by a chief from Teotihuacan in Mexico, but that's a whole nother long story. Blah blah blah. So love. We just talked about love for the longest time, and self-love, and we'll come back to love on each one of these. So I'm going to skip to this last one, gratitude, because that's likely where we need to go now, because you have to be grateful for what you do have. You know, if you don't love yourself, you're probably focused on the negative. You and I have talked about this before, yum and yuck, that if you're all focused on what I don't have and yuck, 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 I hate myself, I'm frustrated with myself, I don't have enough, I'm not enough, well then what are you doing? That's your pattern. So I wake up every morning with this pattern of thank you, and go to sleep every night with thank you. And I try to look not at what I don't have, but what I do have. And not only the things but the thoughts, the feelings, and the feelings are really where we need to connect again. So when we start to be grateful, our mind can only think of one thing at a time. It's either yum or yuck. One thing. You have a choice. And if you want to be grateful, you're on that yum. Your frequency is going up. It's rising. If you're focused on the negative and all anger, hate, frustration, argue, blame, complain, well, then you're in that negative, and you drop down in frequency. Your frequency goes down, your energy goes down, your health, your vitality goes down. And so if you're sick, you're probably, look at your thoughts, look at your feelings. What are you hanging on to? What is your pattern? So if you want to be well, your wellness comes with the wellness of mind, the frequency of being, and what you're holding on to. Instead of carrying around a rock like you're going to go throw it at someone else, a burning rock. Who Buddha said that. Like hate is like carrying around a rock that you're going to throw at someone else, and it takes so much energy to carry this around, and you never get to throw it at them. You
created an analogy.
Yeah.
Well-being, wellness. It only comes from falling into the wellspring, in the well. When Jesus turned water into wine, you talked about being imbalanced in thought, which causes illness in the body. So Jesus, being balanced in the mind, has a thought. Master, we're out of wine. So he has a thought. They need wine. Dang it, I want some wine too. So he has a thought, because he's pure in thought. Then he drops into the well, which is love, which is the power. God is synonymous with love. That is the power. And he brings it forth. And we go back again to our life. I said this the other night in a presentation, Brian. I'd love for you to echo or whatever, counterpoint or whatever, is that you are no more powerful when you become enlightened than you are right now. That is an illusion. You are sitting on your throne, and you're king or queendom, and you're governing your freaking city. That's what you're doing. You have the same power now that you have in your future when you become a saint or illumined. It's just running amok in a ride. You're not being able to bring it to here, bring it to center, and harness it and will it forth like a craft that you practiced all your life. What are your thoughts on that, bro?
Well, you just used this fantastic word, enlightened. Enlightened. In light, enlightened. And what we were just talking about, the heavies that you carry around, the rocks you're carrying around, the boulders, the bad feelings, it lighten up, Angels fly because they take themselves lightly, And if you want to fly, if you want your burdens to come off you, you have to get the burdens off you. You have to let go and lighten up.
Lighthearted.
Let go of the feeling. And what is it? What is the story about? To get into heaven, your heart has to be lighter than a feather or something. What is that story?
Don't know. I like it already though.
Yeah. Well, look that one up. Yeah. So here we go to the next one. Might as well just jump forward to joy.
Sure.
Because enlightenment is joy. And if you want, just like if you want love, you have to give love. If you want joy, you have to give joy. Laughter is contagious. It's all contagious. And so if you're not in joy, if you're not laughing, look around you. Your people that your circle of friends, they might not be a circle of friends that are enlightening you and lifting you up. They might be keeping your pattern down. It might be more of a cage than a circle of friends. So look at your cage. Is your cage bad? They say if you're depressed, you might just be hanging out with assholes. Can I say that on this? Are you allowed to say that?
I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. I guess so. Well, then, yeah, fantastic.
Well, yeah, I like the new image you brought forth. You said, look at your cage. Mm-hmm. You can get to a place where there is no longer a cage. You're free. What brings about the cage is the grabbing on of everything, all the trivial, nonsensical stuff that really has no meaning and goes absolutely nowhere. I get it. Some of those things are fun. I know. I'm a dude. I'm a musician. I get it. But it comes to a time when you start loving yourself and appreciating yourself and say, this is at least one branch off of a rotten tree I'm shaving today. Diligently. You keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. It's not something you have to do in this lifetime. You're going to do this forever anyway. What else do you have to do? except get it right. When you get it right, you right yourself, you balance yourself, because now you right with yourself. It just becomes really, really easy. You don't have to think as much, because I'm not trying to force out a thought to create something. Intuition just kicked in and says, here's your thought, versus sitting there trying to think of what to write or what to say to someone. You're always in that consciousness, in that flow. So since you're not thinking so much, you're not monkey-minded, you're shaving miles off of your journey, because now time is no longer involved. There's no more effort, no more work. And you can apply thinking thoughts as work, or busting your ass in real life with a job, because once you become connected, that very light and that abundance is looking for you. It wants you. It wants to connect your light with the cosmic light, so the circle can be complete, and another explosion of light as a soul, but also as an embodied human being, fires off in the universe. When you get the it of it, whatever the it is in your life, when you get it, you shoot up another rung on the ladder. That's love. That's the goal. Brian, I think I have something. Please be on here on my. Here,
is it an oatmeal commercial?
It is. Check this out. This is the gig right here. If God is love, then it's about developing the love within to the level God is. And it's right now. It's just simply right now.
Wow.
You disappeared on me, bro.
Uh-oh.
You ascended.
You still hear me?
I can hear you great, but you ascended. I must hear you in my consciousness.
I should be here.
Let me put you on your screen. Hang on.
I'm up on the top corner. I'm up in the top corner on mine. So it's on your end. You hate me. Well,
no, we're good. I love you.
There we go. I'm naked now. I'm actually naked. I'm on your screen, on what you're feeding back to me. I'm showing up on your screen. So
let me do a little investigation. Welcome everyone to Center of Light, hanging out with my brother, Mr. Brian Hart. We're having a blast. I turned you off and turned it on.
Well, you turned on the that image. I wonder if it's on that image.
It shouldn't have had anything. It's just a different screen. For example, just.
How about bringing that one up again?
Oh, sure.
Just replace me with that. See if that shows up. There we go.
Okay, you see that, right? But I don't see you here. Let me re-engage.
Well, while you figure that out, let me talk about. Let's find something to talk about here, and I'll just talk about you pressed up all the buttons. I'm back. See, this is magic.
Yeah, right. It is magic.
So we spoke a little bit about love, unconditional love. We spoke about gratitude, yum and yuck, right? And that your brain can only think of one thing at a time. It's either yum or yuck, you know. So when you're grateful, you're filling your space up with these positive attitude and gratitude, and everything changes, because the habit becomes gratitude, as opposed to argue, blame, complain, fear, depression, whatever else. You know, you're grateful for what you have, and then joy comes, you know. Joy comes from giving and getting. It's like they say, what was it? Bob Dylan said, you got to serve somebody. Well, he did it in a funny voice, but got to serve. Yeah, but really what that means, if you really listen to it, what it really means is, if you're depressed, find someone to serve, and you'll get your joy back. You'll get your purpose back. If you're confused, if don't have much of a path going on in life, find something that brings you joy and serve in that way. Give it away now, you know? And what'll happen is, by your gifting away your energy, you'll get back the energy, and then it'll start to put you on the path of creating that joy for yourself. And so I guess I did three here. Innocence is our next one in my list here. Innocence is really funny for me. Innocence isn't just being a child. It's actually having the mind of innocence and open-mindedness and optimism, and keeping knowing that you can change your thoughts at any time, and you can always see through new eyes. And even the wisest of all spiritual leaders that I've been around are aware that they can learn from everybody, like a little puppy dog they can learn from a little child they can learn from. You can learn patience, you can learn commitment and understanding and all sorts of things, compassion, from anybody. It doesn't matter what age. So the innocence is open-mindedness in looking at everybody in every moment as another opportunity to learn and grow. You never know it all, you know? No matter how much I learn, I still know that there's more to learn. And when I was 18, I knew everything. And now that I'm 55, I seem like I know nothing, you know? How about you?
55, huh? Yeah, I am 55. I know that's not what you were asking.
You're 55?
I'm 55.
Fantastic. 1963 was a good year for me.
Yeah, right. What month were you born, bro? What's your B
It was October. I'm a Libra. I'm the balancer. I'm the scales. I'm the only thing that's a thing. You know, I'm a scale, whatever that is, you know? Yeah.
As we were talking, what came to mind is that God only has one answer every time you pose a question, and it's yes. It's unconditional love. It's an unconditional wishing tree. When you want something or ask for something unconsciously that you really don't want, he says, yes, you can have it. And that's what unconditional is. So as we are with ourselves, conscious or not, the answer is always the same, yes. And we keep unfolding, hopefully consciously, versus rolling down a hill and crashing into a car on a snow sled. The answer is always yes.
Do you remember the TV show MASH?
Absolutely.
The very last episode of MASH, they, I don't know what happened, like someone died and they were flying away in a helicopter, and it pans over to like Hawkeye and Radar, I don't know what their names were, but one of them said, God answers all prayers. And sometimes the answer is no. Right. And so when you're getting a no, look in your own frequency. Is it that your frequency was wrong and you were really saying the prayer for it not happening? So and also look at every situation as an opportunity to learn and grow. So when the answer is no, when you're not getting things, you have to look inside. Is there a lesson? So every crisis is an opportunity to learn and grow. Every problem is really a chance for us to grow. And so there's where we get to fearlessness. Fearlessness is seeing that there's nothing to fear, because we always have an opportunity to learn and grow. We always have the ability to change. And so when we stop looking at life as, a problem, but look at it as an opportunity to learn, and what haven't I learned, or what pattern have I created so that this happens to me? If you repeat the same thing over and over again, you expect a different result. They call that insanity. So if you're having a problem that you've had before, you're probably not listening. You're not paying attention. You know, and where your attention is, paying attention, where your attention is and what your intention is together, create your action. So some people today, you know, I don't have a lover, I don't have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, I don't have this, and I want more. Well, look at the lesson. There might be something in there for you. Like, do you love yourself enough? Are you giving joy? Are you serving? Are you just selfish? Are you putting your attention and intention in, I intend to get a boyfriend that'll buy me stuff. I intend to have a girlfriend because, you know, looking pretty on my arm or something.
And
You know, what is
we
your
were talking
intention
about
behind it?
love. We were talking
Yeah.
about love and attachment being opposites. So
Yeah.
when you are in this way, what you are doing is you attached to old thought patterns that you can't find a way out of the cycle. And Brian, something you talked about being fearless. When you are in fear, I understand the play and the dynamic of what happens when someone is in fear. We think that being afraid of a scenario protects us from the very thing that we are afraid of. What is this thing right here? In fact, what it does, it throws you into the trap because it's a big carrot, just like a mousetrap. And when you bite it, that bar will swing back twice as hard and smash your head.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I understand fight, flight, fright back when, but we have evolved new ways. We are evolving our consciousness to a space where that's no longer useful. In fact, it's detrimental. It's always has been detrimental, except other than running from a saber-toothed tiger. It's love.
Fight or flight, huh? Yeah. So you have a choice there too, is how to respond. There's so many of us in that fight or flight mode, in that fear mode. We're full of fear. That's the habit, you know. And so in the fight or flight mode, you would stand up and fight. But some of us also turn into a pill bug, and that just play dead.
Right.
And so they
That's funny.
Instead of living their life, they're playing dead. They desire security, or they desire power, and they get in a place where they get comfortable and they don't challenge themselves. They're seeking. They basically create a cul-de-sac for themselves, and a little neighborhood, and that's safe. And they never try anything new. They never play and color outside of the line. In their own way, that's a sense of fear too. They hold themselves in a place of not living. They don't live life. And so with love, it's the same way. You know, are you living life? Are you loving as big as you can? And how can you change that is the question.
I love the image you said, cul-de-sac. You know,
Yeah.
if that's your prison.
Mm-hmm.
As a kid, I had so much fun in cul-de-sacs. How much fun can you have in a cul-de-sac? You have a barbecue, you can ride bikes, you can so it truly becomes perspective of what it is, where you find yourself, and what you do with it, your cul-de-sac. Are you worried that people are going to turn around in your driveway? Are you going to invite people and have a barbecue or fish fry, say, everyone come over? It's just really how you spin and wield your cosmic energy. You are the soul. The soul is not something you're going to become united with. You are sandwiched with your soul right now. The gig is, how much are you aware of it? It's not graduation day when you finally achieve this huge epiphany. I mean, you're having it right now. This doesn't change, except how you're taking it all in and how you're spinning it when you give it back. And when we get into a space of love unconditionally, I love everything as it is. So one, I am not in a fight, first and foremost, with myself nor the world. And because of which, everything in the world, it may seem like you're pretending for a while. That how can that horrible thing be something beautiful? Well, when I was going through a breakup after 10 years, it was horrible. Hindsight, it was the most beautiful thing that's ever happened to me. So when you start seeing through this, in fact, not a filter at all, then when the karmic cycle completes itself, the water runs through the dirt clog hose, and your experience of the world truly begins to become illuminated. You start to see light all around objects, as if everything is softly blending together. It's not so separated anymore. It's not so defined. Everything has this beautiful glow and unity about it. And you get to see the energy move through people. You might be somewhere in a restaurant, and you know that lady has a mission. You don't know why. It may not be important. But you begin to see the energy move in people, in events, in life, world events, chaos, humanity. When you step back enough, fall into the well where the well-being is, well, there you have it. And Brian, I see you truly planted in that reality, in that experience in your life. Every time I talk to you, every time I hang out with you on the radio or just over the phone, reading your post, when did you finally make that shift to where you're no longer living in struggle? In other words, 51%, 50%, 51, you're on the way down the mountain.
Well, you know, every day you have struggles. Every day you have problems, and I mean, it's not like I don't have problems. I don't have struggles, and that I'm happy all the time. It's just that it's a choice. It's you make the choice, like a yum or yuck, at every moment. I've actually had only twice in my life that I've been depressed, to where I've been depression, like I felt the heavies on me. And in the past 2 months, I've actually been depressed. I've let pressure get to me. My other time was when I lost my entire life savings. And in 2 weeks, I went back to being okay and happy with myself. You know, I lost 19 years of saving money, and it was gone in a blink of an eye. And in the last 2 months, I've actually held myself in this really weird place of depression, and I've been digging myself out. So, you know, I've said this before that.
Do you know what it is for? Do you know what that depression is being triggered by?
Oh,
whatever memory, you know. Okay, so you know.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And it's feeling like you don't have the ability to help when you really want to help. That you're also not being seen or appreciated for who you are. And so I've had to go inside of myself and really appreciate myself. There's my own self-love. And I've had to tune my frequency. It's challenged me to be all this stuff that I talk about. I've actually had to apply at a deeper level than I've ever imagined. I've had to really connect in. And so my habits every morning that we've talked about, I really tune into my feeling, my frequency. And what am I feeling? What am I holding on to? Where is it in my body? Along my chakras? Is it in my stomach? Is it in my neck, my head? Am I breathing? Am I holding my breath? Am I exercising? Do I have any clarity of body, of mind, of spirit? And so all these habits, I've actually had to tune up to higher levels of self-love in order to overcome this pressure or depression that is actually self-induced. You know, I don't have to respond to life with the heavies. I can peel them off, and I've been learning that even more. I mean, so you know, all this stuff that we're talking about is true, and so it's been great that I've been thankful and grateful that I've been here. And you know, there have been times when I just want to run away. I'm from my situation that I'm in now and go someplace else, you know. And you know, I jokingly years and years ago, I actually saved six different people, 6 different times, incidents of saving people from suicide. And I never really have had a suicidal thought in my life, you know. I've never had that. But I was probably 20 years old after this one big one. It was number 2, and I was driving. And I was actually driving to go to Florida in the middle of the winter. I lived on the East Coast here. And in the middle of the winter, I couldn't stand that it was gray and cloudy like it is now, you know? Cloudy every day. I couldn't get my sunshine, couldn't get my fresh air. So every winter time about now, I would just disappear and go down to Florida, and I just stare at the sun for a couple days and then drive back. So I just helped this friend to not commit suicide, and I was just thinking as I'm driving, all the insanity of wanting to commit suicide, because it never dawned on me that I would want to commit suicide. So my solution was actually kind of funny, that I would change my name, I would change my location, and I would do something extraordinary. I would challenge myself. And so my joke was, here's the joke, if I ever got depressed enough to want to commit suicide, I would change my name to Paco and open up a tiki bar. Open up a tiki bar. You know, the tikis, the little of Polynesian tiki bar in Key West, Florida, because when I was like 20 years old, Key West, Florida was the most exotic place I could imagine. That's actually where I was driving at the time. So I'd open up a tiki bar in Key West and change my name to Paco and just go by Paco. And so if I ever ask you to call me Paco, know that I've been through some depression. But I am Brian David Hardin for now. You know?
Bro, I liked the image you talked when you said you felt this pressure, depression. Yeah. Well, when you see a button, any button that you press, it's actually called, you depress a button. So when something has pressure on you and you go into depression, your button is being pressed, right?
Yeah.
And I know those little trials, but I am, again, Brian, I'm grateful that I can declare that I don't have those days. Now, don't get me wrong. When someone last year broke into my house and I saw the door jarred, before I walked in, I said, at least I get my new TV. I wanted a 4K TV. Hit me for a moment, done with it. In other words, that's the gig. I actually talked to you that day. I saw the reflection. I don't like it. TV gone. Let it go. So I ended another part of that trial, of that cycle for myself. Often in my life, when something does show up, like my house getting broke into, it says, "You remember me, Keith? What are you going to do with me?" And I go, "Who are you? I don't even know what the hell you are." And I'm done with it. I truly move on. I'm not pissed off at the person who stole my stuff in my house. I don't care who broke my window in my car. I'm done with it. It doesn't matter. Me engaging in the experience to that level does nothing whatsoever. Not only for the moment, but for the lesson that's going to come back around and rear its ugly head yet again. So every time something shows up for me, my brother, Paco, Hardin, I breathe and I'm done. I'm truly done. I don't linger for 30 minutes. I don't linger for an hour. I may try to figure out what I've done responsibly that may have caused it, left my door unlocked, or whatever it is that I can do to take responsibility for the situation. But I don't let that energy, that feeling, that demon, that devil hang into my consciousness. I just learned that. And yeah, I understand, but I just can't let that go. That's only something you can figure out. Myself, Brian, many other teachers can tell you where the switch is. No one can find it except yourself of jumping. I want to let go, but I don't know how. You just got to frickin' jump. You got to jump.
And I'm your witness. I actually talked to you that day, right after that all happened, and you were flustered, but you kept talking yourself off the ledge of being flustered.
Yeah.
And coming back, there's a lesson in this. There's something going on here. I got to focus on the lesson. And you'd spin out for 4 seconds, and then you come back. So the more enlightened we get, lightened up, heavies, doesn't mean that the heavies don't come onto your shoulders and try to depress you. It means, and that everything's rosy. It means that your response to it is to remain depressed less time, to not create that as the pattern of holding you down. And anger, argue, blame, complain becomes the pattern. No. You're going to go back up to joy, innocence, fearlessness, optimism, and gratitude. and you're going to come back up to this place of love. And so how are you going to do that? It's a pattern. It's a habit. What's your habit? And so your habit was good enough to let you only be depressed or frustrated for a short amount of time.
Correct. I don't wallow in it. Brian, we at the top of the hour. We got another hour to go, everyone. Welcome to Center of the Light Radio. Brian, would you give out your contacts so people can know how to find more about you and what you're doing and how awesome you're doing it?
Well, I have a thing called New Ways. It's spelled with a K, Knewways, New Ways to Evolve, and it's just New Ways, Knewways.com. And it's about new ways to evolve, and it's really just all those old ways. And then my own personal, yeah, it's all the old ways. It's being in connection. All the indigenous people connected to the sunshine, the fire, the water, the air, and the earth. And I mean, that's pretty simple. When we say the Son of God, we're connecting to the light. And so I have newways.com, Knewways, newways.com. I also have Brian D. Hardin. D is David, as in the giant killer. So Brian David Hardin, BrianDHardin.com or BrianDavidHardin.com will get you to the same place. And I have some new ones that I own some names that I'm probably going to all post it all on New Ways. But lately I found this one cool thing, because what I'd like to talk about on the second half is feeling the wisdom, not thinking wisdom, but feeling wisdom and being love. So the second half, I want to feel wisdom and be love. Eventually, I'm going to have a website that will direct you to New Ways, but it's a link that'll be feelwisdombelove.com. But right now, it's newways.com, BrianDHardin.com, and then I've got a lot of videos up on YouTube as that New Ways, and that's plenty.
Everyone, Yanava here. Good to see you. Welcome out. Happy Valentine's Day. I see it all the time, or hear people say it all the time. Happy Valentine's Day. Life is simply a choice, y'all. You got to get busy. See you shortly.
I will be with you always, until the end of time. You will never be alone. I am. I feel you there beside me. All of my lives, all through my days, I've seen places far away. Wondering just where time and every moment by your own perceptions, your judgments, actions. Peace is a state of mind. Bliss is a state of heart. Heaven is a state of being.
Deep in my heart, I know you're there. I can always feel you guiding my life to see the light that will lead me to the truth. When I create, when I feel love, whenever I feel you with me, I celebrate times of my life. There is only you and me. For you are my mother,
My soul.
my divine lover. I celebrate times of my life. There is only you and me. Help me live.
Hello, beautiful friends. Keith Anthony Blanchard here with an amazing product offer. We have been hearing about hemp oil for the last couple of years and its potential. Let me introduce you to my dear friend, Miss Jackie Atwell. Our oil helps bring your body back to a state of wellness. It is also used as a preventative from illness. It works by bringing the body back to homeostasis and balance. It's a natural, organic, non-GMO, full-spectrum oil. Third-party tested and comes with a certificate of analysis. Posted on our information page. Awesome anti-inflammatory and antioxidant. If you are suffering in silence, give it a try. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. 60-day empty bottle money-back guaranteed refund. To order, go to www.hempworks.com/Jackie Atwell. That's www.hempworks.com/Jackie Atwell. Welcome back to Center of Light. Yanava here. Valentine's Day special with my bro Ham, Mr. Brian, Paco, Hardin. We're having a good time tonight. Ooh. Musician's lifestyle for sure. My days and my nights are blending together. Mr. B. Rye. Unmute.
All right, I'm back on.
Doesn't make for a great gold record when you have the channels muted, does it, bro?
Yeah, it's fine.
How was your break? Did you biz?
Oh, I started eating a banana, and I got some water. That's about it. I talked to my parents for a minute. Yeah.
What did you want to talk about this segment, my brother? You said something about the power of wisdom.
Well, it's actually feeling wisdom in being love. So, today we're talking about love, 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 love. But love is actually an action. And love is not something you get. It's something that you give. Something it's an action that you give away, and you sometimes receive love after you give it away, but it's definitely not an item. It's a feeling. And so same with wisdom. It's actually a feeling that the wisdom isn't all up in the head, it's in the heart. And so this evolution of consciousness that we're all going through is where we raise up from beyond our head in our ego and our mind and all those fearful constructs and those clinging attachments to a place of feeling. And so I don't know, it's been attributed to Einstein, but it was said that you have to match your frequency to that of what you want. There's also a woman named Abraham Hicks who channels this energy of Abraham. And same thing, you know, it's tune your frequency to that of what you want. And but the feeling of wisdom is the feeling of life, of love, of kindness. And so there's a thing called kinesiology. Are you familiar with that, kinesiology, at all?
Yep.
There's I think his name was David, I forget his name. The name doesn't matter. But started analyzing that muscle testing. If you do muscle testing where you do resistance, I know my chiropractor, I've got several chiropractors that all use this, and they ask your body questions that your mind would lie about, you know? And so without even your mind responding, your body responds instantly. And so they ask your body questions, and your body doesn't lie, and your feelings don't lie. Your mind is the liar, you know. It's the ego and the construct, and it's the thing that's attached in fear. But your body doesn't lie, and they actually say that your body will answer the question as early as 8 seconds before your mind will, and that you can actually see or feel into the future. And so when we talk about women having intuition, it's not only women, it's men too, having intuition, this ability to raise our frequency up to feel the answer, to actually feel the feeling. So if you walk in a room and you feel that there's some anger or frustration or something in the room, you're probably right. And so you have to adjust accordingly, even though they might tell you something different. So then you have to go back to love. And instead of fighting people and getting out your sword and being ready to argue, blame, and complain, you have to go to love and say, how can I serve? How can I help? How can I fix this? How can we? And quite often, the feeling will lead us to, mixed with love, will lead us to a place of resolve, of connection, and communication. You know, have you had that happen?
Well, for sure. What I loved was when you said that earlier. When you're not feeling joyful, go do something for someone. So what happens is, in the doing something for someone, you add another piece to your pie. In other words, you connect to another piece. You add another piece to your wholeness. That's why you're joy. And you saying just a moment ago, love is not something you get. Love is something you are. So you can't get love because that's what you are. So you can't get you from them. You can only be, keyword, be you. And in your being you, to reach out and help others, you simply add another link to your chain. You're getting more and more complete with other people. That's what it is for me. And I see that so effortlessly in many, many times, Brian. And everyone wants to help everyone. If you could send even a silent blessing to someone on the street. But when you really engage intention and attention to the scenario of what you are offering and giving, doesn't matter whether it's physical money or a blessing, the karmic experience that happens quicker. The more wisdom, the more oomph, the more that you're in this place, this cosmic moving stream. You throw a stone in there. Jesus didn't wait a week for the wine to manifest from the water. He was in that wisdom. Yeah, I see it.
Attention and intention, you know? So your intention is inwardly, and it's also connected to the feeling, right? You know? So if you're feeling anger or hatred or whatever, and you try to go do something right for people, and you don't let go of the anger first, I'm not sure that's the right intention, you know? I think you have to actually feel the feeling and tune the frequency first before you go serve. Otherwise you're going to expect something. Many years ago, 2002, I had a friend who her father had Parkinson's disease. And so I was connected with helping heal him with Parkinson's disease. In the process, we went to all these different, another friend of mine owned a Parkinson's center that they healed people from Parkinson's, and they had Alzheimer's too. And so I ended up video interviewing many of the people that had Parkinson's, and their body was responding really badly. Their head actually felt like it was running away from their body. It was jumping away. Their posture was really bad, and it wanted to be disconnected. And what I did after I interviewed everybody, I interviewed all the people themselves that could be interviewed, and I interviewed their relatives that knew them for a long time. And I found that one commonality between all of them was that they gave all their life, and they expected in return something to come back, and they never got it. And so they held on to this frequency of bad energy, of wanting more, but their nature was to continue giving. And they just depleted themselves, and they also had this lock in themselves that blocked this anger, frustration, whatever they held on to, and that actually caused a disharmony, uneasiness,
they were locked up. They became locked up.
Yeah. The uneasiness was the diseasiness, the disease, and it created the Parkinson's. And they all had the same thing, that frequency of not getting back what they gave and wanting it. Now you have to let go of that want. You have to let go of that. So the feelings that we have are important. It's okay to be angry, but it's not okay to be angry all of your life. And like you and I talked earlier, the problem comes when the pattern becomes anger or victim or argue or I want more, I need more. Well, so when you change your pattern to someone broke into your house, and instead of you holding on to the victim, you let go. And you said, there's a lesson in here for me. Every crisis was an opportunity to learn and grow. So you learned your lesson and you let go. And you didn't hold on to any negative feelings or anger or whatever. You just took care of business. You responded right. You responsibility. And it's our responsibility to ourself and our own feelings to respond right, to not be angry and carry that around. Yeah, what is it? Buddha said, I think it was, I don't know, said something about like anger and hatred is like carrying around a hot coal or a rock, and you want to throw it back at them, and instead it just burns you. It's just a heavy burden for you to carry, So you never get to throw it at them. You just hurt yourself for a long period of time. So you have to feel that feeling that you're inflicting on yourself too. What is that feeling? How are you responding? What's your responsibility to yourself, your self-love? Are you loving yourself enough to let go, to accept, to understand? And so that's everything that we've talked about up until now. It's like you have to feel the wisdom. You have, in order to actually have wisdom, it's not think. I actually went to, I used to work for Deepak Chopra. I did a lot of his media for him. And so he'd invite me down and I do like a week-long seminar with him. And I was the one doing all the media. So I was shooting video while I was running sound and DJing stuff. And then, doing the projectors and the lights and everything. I was the one-man band doing it all, right? And so he'd invite me down for the week to do that down in San Diego. And I'd sit in the back with all those technology messing around. And I looked around one of the first times I was there, and everybody there, they had spirituality. This is what they were doing. They're all writing it down, and they all had that look on their face. this with the forehead all crinkled up, and they're all trying to write down their spirituality and what they needed to do and all the details. What was step one again? What was step two? And they weren't feeling. No one was happy. No one was smiling. No one was joyous. No one was connected. And the whole thing was being connected. It wasn't thinking spirituality. It was being spirituality. It's being love. It's being peace, being joy, And so anyway, nothing, it wasn't against Deepak. It was against all humanity's version of how to evolve. And we don't evolve by thinking ourselves there. We evolve by feeling ourselves there. And that's that kinesiology again. Your body doesn't lie. And so what are you feeling? And if you don't have love for yourself, you can't love anybody else. If you don't have, and so that's our number one, if you're not in joy, if you're not full of innocence and fearlessness, all this is frequency. Love is a frequency. Joy is a frequency. Innocence and open-mindedness, that's a frequency. Fearlessness, that's without all the negativity, is frequency. Gratitude, that's the practice, And so, if you want, you got to wisdom, you got to feel the feeling first of wisdom,
You mentioned Parkinson's. I knew an individual who had Parkinson's. And of course, we know Parkinson's by simple observation of knowing someone who has it. The word you use is somewhere in their process, there's a lock. They become locked up. Now, this individual, before he passed, of course, this was his condition. He was locked up, couldn't move, frozen stiff. But the being locked up is clearly in the mind, because when he left the body, the one thing he could not do while the mind was still in it, when he left the body, all of his limbs did this. Right? So as the mind released the body from its rigidity and its being locked up, the mind was literally causing the body in for that long period, the Parkinson's. So when he was released, the body was free to do what it needed to do. So it wasn't a body affliction. It was mental. But it shows up in the body because the body and the mind are not separate. The body is the mind made flesh. And so where's the mind? It's not here. That's your brain. So the mind is the empty space between the matter that makes up your meat suit. That's the mind. It's the mind dimension. It's the mental plane. Get the monkey out of the way. You're free to roam the jungle.
Well, because we're talking about Parkinson's, I actually want to talk about some of the other brain situations. And here with Parkinson's, you see their posture changes and their head goes out and their posture goes forward. They start bending further and further forward. Like the head is literally running away from the body. And is that what happened with your friend? Like
Yep.
The head was running away from the body?
Yeah.
And so what happens is toxins that we put into ourself. Remember, we got body, we got mind, we have spirit. Okay? So we have toxins that go in to our physical body, like our food and our water. And then you have to be able to get rid of that, eliminate that through sweating, breathing, peeing, and crapping. And so those are ways of getting rid of the physical toxins, input, output. Well, that's the physical world. Then there's the mental world. And the mental world is, what are you putting in? What are the thoughts you're putting in? What are you feeding in? Are you full of fear? Are you in that anger, argue, blame, and complain? What is the pattern of that? So that's your thoughts. And are you getting rid of those thoughts? Are you eliminating those thoughts, just like we do with the physical world? And the third one is the spiritual world. Now that's a little more esoteric. In Christianity we would say Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Well, the Father is like the mind. The Son is like the body, Jesus. And the Holy Spirit is something that most churches barely even talk about. Oh, the Holy Spirit. But they don't really get there. So our society hasn't gotten evolved enough to really get to that space. And that's a place of feeling. and that's a place of true belief, you know, is the frequency, you know. So God to me is that frequency. It's that vibration of higher. You know, you just brought up that image just seconds ago on the screen with all the chakras. And the lower chakra, the root chakra, could you bring that up again just for a second on the red? See the red at the bottom, on the bottom? The red one down at the very bottom there is the root chakra. And that's the physical world. The next one up is our more like sexual chakra, the orange. And that is more like
creative.
Our response. And the third one up is what I'd call, what is they call it, the solar plexus. And there you have desire, intention, will, and destiny. And that's thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, the yellow one, right?
I love it.
And then the next one up is throat chakra. And that's more creativity. That's like affluence, abundance, discernment, and creativity. And you know, then we start getting in the head. And when we get to the very top, that purple, the beautiful purple, that's amazing. That's the enlightenment, and this is our true spirit. That's our true belief. And you started this whole segment out an hour and a half ago, or an hour and 20 minutes ago. You told a little bit of my story that I died when I was a kid. And I died at the age of 16 and I came back to life. Well, I ended up going to that purple, and it's almost, after the purple is white, and it's the rainbow of colors. And I went to this place where it was all white. And when I died, and I had a choice to come back. So I got to touch that place of God momentarily, and get to come back. So then years later, I was working with Deepak Chopra, and we were doing advanced levels of meditation. And he taught how to meditate from that bottom chakra, that the lowest red one, the body, and go up through the mind, and then go up to the spirit, and how to take you up from the body up into spirit land. And I'm such a weirdo because I had my near-death experience. I'm such a weirdo that I am all spirit. I'm connected to spirit, and I have a hard time getting into the body. And so one day I'm walking down the hallway and see Deepak, and I pulled him to the side. I said, your type of meditation does not work for me because you start from the ground and you go up. I need the opposite. So everything you teach, I just flip it upside down, and I'm a spirit that has a hard time getting into the body. And so I actually found that you flip everything he taught upside down, and it works beautifully. But no matter what you're doing is connecting heaven and earth. Heaven is up there in that spirit. It comes in through light, through the light of sunshine, through the light of God, through the light of or whatever the patterns are. And then we have this mind thing in the way. It's like a plate. I see it like a plate here, the ego and the mind. And if that gets in the way, then the spirit doesn't get to talk to the body. But when we get the mind right and in frequency and allowing, and it gets out of the way, it allows the spirit to connect to the body. And in that moment, that's when the musicians have these moments that are beyond. The guitar solo comes out better than they could ever imagine. There's no guitarist that could write that thing that they do, the expression and the feeling that comes through. The feeling comes through. And so there we are, back to the feeling comes when the spirit connects to the body, right? And the mind gets out of the way. There's no thinking, there's no details that we wrote out all that stuff. It's a feeling. And we have that with music, we have that with art, we have that with the art of life, we have that also with sports. You see these brilliant sports players that literally there's 2 seconds on the clock and no one has any idea. Everybody knows the ball's going to go to them, and he has no idea what he's going to do. He's just going to stick it in the hole or do whatever, make the shot, and he just believes. So he goes to this feeling of belief. Now, if there's any self-doubt, he loses, and the team loses. But when he removes that self-doubt, the ego and the mind and so on, the spirit gets to connect to the body, and there's a really good chance that magic happens. I-magination. I-magic nation. The nation you want, the world you want. And your imagination comes through, your spirit comes through, the feeling comes through, all that connection, you know? So you've had all that, right? And when you play music, right? Uh-oh, did I lose you?
I'm
Okay.
listening. I'm absorbing. Your
But
5-minute marathon.
Okay.
You're welcome to use that slice of pie anytime. That was absolutely poetically phenomenal.
Oh, thanks.
No, I'm
Thanks.
saying thank you. Brian, that was just amazing. Your expressions of how the image you painted with your posture, your words, I felt the connectivity of not just you saying something and your body's moving around. It was so congruent, dude. I'm sitting here just being quiet and watching the show. But what you said in there sparked something in me. Coincidentally, at the beginning of the presentation, the interview, we started talking about acceptance, allowance, and appreciation. So like you said to Deepak Chopra, your meditation doesn't work for me. I don't go ground up. I have to come up down. Which is, so now if we want to bring that light into the body, because when the mind's there, the light can't get into the body and the body gets ill, you practice 3 things. Acceptance, allowance, appreciation. And they're all in chronological order. Acceptance. I accept this thing, or let's call that thing, in this case, God. I accept it. Now, the light begins to move down because you're choosing the idea of it. Now I'm going to allow it to do its thing to me. In other words, I'm out of the way. The mind's out of the way. It drops the light even further into the chest cavity. I allow. Then you appreciate it, and it anchors the light on the earth. I accept God, or I accept the situation, and I allow the situation to be. And now you appreciate it. And we apply that on every facet of our life. Things will just open up everywhere. And that's what we're doing to the best of our ability. But when you're not sure if you should jump anyway. That was amazing, dude. I loved it, what you said, bro. That was just, I'm going to chew on that for
I had a moment of inspiration about 2 months ago where I said these 3 things were happening to me at that moment. That I was dissolving, resolving, and evolving. And they go directly with the 3 that you just said. When you accept, like you said, you dissolve all your attachments. When you accept the way things are, you get rid of the attachments to the outcome. So I'm dissolving. And then allowance. By allowing things to happen, and you're opening yourself up to the resolve, the resolve. You resolve things. You actually get the feeling again, and then your appreciation is that gratitude, and that's the evolution. You know, that's the gratitude. And so if you want love, if you want joy, if you want that, you got to have that open-mindedness. You have to be without fear, and you have to have gratitude. So the way to love and joy is through that gratitude, the fearlessness, the innocence, the acceptance, allowance, and appreciation. Like you said, you and I speak the same language. This is
differently.
fantastic.
Listen, bro, you know, I said this the other night in a presentation. And it's beautiful, but you also refer to this in your own way. See, you and I are knucklehead sandwiches. We are connected at the hip bone. You talked about the Deepak Chopra event that you worked the media for, and everybody's writing these notes and they're brown. You know, you're trying to figure it out. And there's nothing wrong with method. A lot of spiritual teachers use method. Many people, I would think most people, need method. What Brian and I are referring to has nothing to do with method. Share what it has to do with. It has to do with this. Right now. It's transformation right now. That's why Brian wakes up in the morning and he feels his feelings. So its method is great. But I think instead of using tons and tons of spiritual methods to get expanded, what if we accept, allow, and appreciate? And the 3 that you used as well from the menu, that's all that's required. There's nothing else required to open up and illuminate. There isn't.
Yeah, so feeling the feelings of a practice, and that is the practice. Yum or yuck.
How
What do you
deep
want?
can you feel those feelings would be the question one would pose now. I understand feelings. Okay, I have feelings all the time. Okay, I'm feeling this right now. Take an inventory, so I'm feeling. I feel it. I feel the feeling. See, you don't just have feelings. You can also feel the feeling. So the question becomes for everyone, how deep can you feel?
Well, you're the director, right?
Huh?
You're writing the next chapter of your life. So if you just had a bunch of drama and a bunch of bad chapters over and over again, well, you have the ability right now to just take that chapter and rip it out and go to the next chapter. Like, we're ready for the next one. What do you want to write? How do you want to feel? What's your feeling you want to have, And start feeling it now. You and I have talked about the Ferrari. If you want the Ferrari, why do you want the Ferrari? Why do you want the girlfriend? Why do you want the boyfriend? Why do you want the big house? Why? What's the end result? Well, it's because it'll make you feel something. It might make you feel secure, but does that make you secure? No. Someone's got to pay for it. Something's got to have what you're giving something to get something. What are you doing, right? And so what's the feeling, the end result of feeling that you want the Ferrari for? It's so that people think you're powerful and give you a big ego. Well, why don't you just go to the feeling right now of joy in someone, and you'll attract everything it takes to get the Ferrari or get the girlfriend or whatever by changing your frequency. And at some point, once you change that frequency up, you don't need the big house. You don't need the Ferrari. You don't need the
But that's the point. They still
trophy
want the
girlfriend,
Ferrari. No, they don't want to
whatever.
get rid of that. They don't want to get
Yeah.
rid of the old feeling. Because if I release my attachment to the Ferrari, and I might get to a place of, I don't care about the Ferrari anymore because I can save a bunch of money, I already have the feeling. I'm not going to entertain that feeling because I want the Ferrari. They don't want to lose the idea of it possibly going away. See, Jesus, when he went to the other side, he didn't die or sacrifice. Let's use that better. It has such a more beautiful image. When Jesus transmuted all the dark, dense, thick energy, because it passed through his being, and as the pure light, anytime there's darkness and it goes around light, the darkness simply dissipates. This is what metaphysically happened. But he didn't do this to get anything. He was the everything, and he offered it to the all. So in that is such an explosion of light, power. No, there's no disconnect. You can will forth. You simply live in absolute peace. I am in my Father, my Father's in me, and I am in you. I am the truth, the way, the hope, the life, and the light. Didn't really mean that Jesus was the way. Jesus was the man who aspired and illuminated. The Christ is that which married into Jesus. There is a big difference in understanding. And if you are a Christian, with all love, I'm offering you something more beautiful than maybe you have allowed yourself to simply just taste. Jesus, his early life, he thought he was a messenger of God, and he wandered the desert for years until he went to Persia, Tibet, China, all these different, India, all these different places. And later in his life, he realized that I'm not a messenger of God. I am the Son. And he called you brother. So Jesus, when he finally became illuminated at the baptism, Yanava, John, initiated the transformation. The words that were spoken from Christ and not from Jesus has two different spiritualities and tones about them. When Jesus referred to the flock and says, "I am the truth, the hope, the way, and the life," that was the Christ speaking, the soul, the illumination of the absolute soul, the cosmic soul. Buddha experienced it. We all have that opportunity to play in the garden of the soul. Follow me, he said. And he didn't mean just walk around the desert with him and in the heat. He meant follow me, do what I do. You will experience greater things than I. How is that even possible according to fundamental religion? If he was the superior and I'm such inferior because I live in sin, how could that ever... You can't take that statement out of context. You just can't do it. You will achieve greater works than I. I think you can close that book and put it on the shelf. It's such a beautiful story. It's obvious why he's the greatest world teacher. Famous one, at least.
You know, Jesus and Buddha were both homeless. What do you need when you're homeless? You know, like they didn't have a church. They didn't have a huge building. They didn't have a car, a Ferrari. Jesus didn't have a Ferrari. Imagine that. And you know, what he had was the light inside of him, the spirit in him, and it's within all of us. Buddha the same way. You know, loincloth was the story. You know, and there's another spiritual master, which is, you know, the Tao. We speak about the Tao Te Ching, and the writer of that, Lao Tzu, was the writer. We don't even know anything about Lao Tzu. Like supposedly just kind of like a peasant, but left behind some of the highest spiritual vibration writings that are very, very, very simple. And the whole point was there were like 85 of these tiny little poems that were tiny bits of wisdom. And it actually became a way of life, you know? And so the wisdom is the feeling. It's the frequency. It's the vibration. How are you vibrating? And so for you to be able to walk on water or change water to wine, you're dealing with frequency and vibration of stuff, you know? And so when they say an alchemist, they can change base metal, you know, into gold. And the base metal within our own spirituality, we can turn into gold. We can see the light. We can feel the frequency. We can raise our frequency high enough that every problem or crisis is an opportunity to learn and grow. And once you see with those new eyes, you are the alchemist. The alchemist is right here.
New ways.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So you're doing alchemy at every moment. When you choose yum over yuck, when you choose a new habit, when someone breaks into your house and you choose to look for the lesson and not to go get even, you know, you are the alchemist. No one can hurt you. No one can harm you because you know your spirit is eternal. You know that there's a lesson in this and you can move forward, right? Did I lose you?
No, I'm just taking this whole presentation in.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. I don't really have the chance often, or have not had the chance, to actually speak about love as the subject, the talk point, because it can be a little challenging. One, if you haven't experienced it. Two, if you have, to try to put it into words that, one, not that people can understand. I mean, it takes, you know, you got to fish around in this nut, this skull, to try to find words that are tough to describe this level of depth and true feeling that is so imbued with light, wisdom, and power, and the power that lives inside of you creates worlds and universes. That's pretty big stuff right there, man.
But that's why we're artists. Because art is a means of articulating concepts and viewpoints and emotions that are not easily verbalized. And so when you're playing the bass, that is the bass, that's the root, that's the feeling. And if the bass player isn't there playing the bass the right way, the whole song falls apart. The energy isn't supported, you know? And so you want to support that energy of creation, of power, of pulsing, moving forward in life and in your art. That's what you do, right?
That's why I make the big bucks.
Hundreds of dollars a year. Right. But see, it's not about the money, right?
No,
You're happier now than you've ever been. Is that true?
No, let me tell you something, brother. When I get on stage and I'm playing with a good band, I'm just going to play with any band, and I'm having a good time. But especially when I get into a band they're getting real. That hole right there, that foxhole right there, is definitely not about the money. It's about the payoff I'm getting, the instant karma I'm getting for accepting, allowing, and appreciating what's happening to me. That thing goes off, Brian. I take my shoes off when I play. If you've seen any of my videos, I don't do it as a spiritual thing. I want to ground myself while I play so I can connect. I just feel comfortable with my shoes off when I'm hunkering down and getting in there, digging in, and allowing myself to create to the place where I have no idea when I do what I do, where it comes from. I have no idea.
There's no thought.
No, not at all.
Feeling.
And there's a vacuum. It's a void. In fact, when I'm playing with a drummer who is just right in there, and we've played the song hundreds of times because we've been playing together for so many years, and he does this lick, and it's like, where does that come from? How did he and I both know to do this? We didn't know anything. Something infiltrated the band members in that particular moment, and it was a magic moment, they call it. And that place, I would pay to be in that place versus getting paid for it. That place is rich. That place is currency. It's the current. See? That's the love. Being in the engine of love. The engine of love. It's an engine. It's an ever-burning furnace of light and fire. Wow.
That place that you speak about is where the mind turns off and dissolves, the ego turns off and dissolves, and it is not the driver, but just steps to the side and it becomes the witness. And what comes through is that spirit. Now, we can choose that at every moment of every life of our life. You don't have to have the bass in your hand to have that. You can have it while you're taking a walk or taking a drive or writing something or whatever you're doing, or having a relationship with someone, a conversation. So with that, you can get the mind and the ego out of the way and let the spirit come through. Most of us in talking, we don't listen for what is being transmitted to us. We're instead listening on how to respond. And that's our mind listening on how we're going to respond. We're always we're playing chess with our life. It's all in the mind, right? But when you feel the feeling, like you're doing right now, you're actually looking inward. You can actually see on your face, you're looking inward and you're saying, how does this relate to me?
I'll tell you why I do that. A lot of my friends say, why don't you look at people when you talk? Oh,
you're feeling the feeling.
I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you on a level that you asked the question. Why am you're not looking at me? Is because you're not aware I'm looking at you. You notice I'm taking it in. So if I disengage my eyes, I don't have another barrier in the way. I can take it in because I'm more absorbed with my hearing canal right now and not the visual capacity.
Yeah.
It brings me to the feeling.
It brings me to the feeling. You're not watching it.
That's right.
You're feeling it. Yeah. And so I know at times when I'm making music and mixing music, I have something that I guess some people would call a bit of synesthesia. It's where you can feel the feeling of colors and shapes and whatever else. And so the sound doesn't just come in as sound, it actually comes in as energy waves and so on. And so when you truly connect, you can feel those energy. So, years years ago, once again, with the Deepak Chopra thing, he talked about they did this scientific experiment where they separated twins, and they would have the same response, because they were connected. But they also they also had this situation where they separated. Did this lock up? I think I locked up on the video.
It did.
Yeah. Huh.
At least it was a nice photograph.
Do you have the sound still?
Yeah, I got you perfectly on sound.
Okay. Well, you can get rid of me, and maybe it'll reset or something. I don't know.
Keep on.
I'm showing up back on my thing on Skype as if I'm live. I don't understand. But
there you go.
Oh, there we go. We're back live. It was just a cache or something.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, you might try this if you're a dog owner or dog lover, and you've got a little video camera. Look at the connection that you have with your dog. If you really have a deep connection with your dog, set the camera up and set a clock right there beside the camera, and put the dog in one room, and then go away. And don't, with knowing that you're not going to come back at any particular time, that you're just going to go away. And you're going to go shopping or whatever, go hang out with your friends. And the moment you decide it's time for me to go home, the moment you finally make that decision, I'm going to go home now, look at your watch. And when you get home, rewind the camera and look at the camera and see what time it was. And I bet you'll see that your dog felt your feelings and tuned into your frequency, that you were coming home at that moment, and woke up and went to the window to wait for you. And this is how all of humanity is. When you get the brain, the dog's not thinking, well, they're coming home now. It's feeling that you're coming home now. It's feeling that you're connected. Feeling that so wisdom isn't just the brain. Wisdom is the heart. Wisdom is the spirit, so I'm really, really hoping part of this evolution of consciousness is that instead of, I think we should do something, we change our habit of speaking about it to, I feel we should do this. And so listen and be aware of your feelings and how what information's coming in that way. Let this guy take a back seat and let your heart take lead. And that's, they call it a feminine attribute, but with the indigenous people, they call it eagle and condor. Eagle is like the ego and the mind. The condor is like the heart, the feminine. In North America, it's the eagle is the North America, and South America is the condor. It's closer to the earth. This is consumption and force, and the condor is more like creation and form and the feminine. And so when they come into balance, we'll have a time of peace. And same with here. They also speak in indigenous that the greatest distance is not from over there to over here. The greatest distance is actually from here to here, from the head to the heart, and making that connection. And so letting that mind in the thoughts and all the details go away, and start to listen to what's really going on, then wisdom will come through. Magic will come through with the way you play life, the way you experience life. So that is life, and you have that every moment now. Where years ago you didn't have that, right? When your brain was the leader. Right?
None of it. And you simply just have to know how to open up the gate. Let the spring, the wellspring that is you at your essence, move through, and the dirt clogged hose, the water begins to run pure after you let the karma recycle itself and you start learning the lessons. You tell someone a joke, there's no longer a point to tell it. If they go, oh, I get it. That's called enlightenment. So now that you get the karmic riddle, it goes land on someone else's shoulder, not yours. And simply the gate and the waters begin to move, the waters of life. Brian, thank you for being here today, bro. You want to close with anything? You got a big bang in you? Something you want to share with the audience so we can maybe, something we can use. For many people, how can they let go of certain things to be able to move into this magical space, the heart, love, happy Valentine's Day energy we've been speaking about?
Wow. I never thought about how to close this. Love. Well, we'll go back to the beginning. Self-love is really what it's all about. So you got to love yourself first. You got to feel the feeling of self-love, and that's not like I'm so good that, you know, I'm better than everybody else, and that's not self-love. Self-love is accepting, like you were saying earlier, accepting and appreciation of every part of you. You know that, you know, things are getting different. You're probably wiser than you've ever been, and because you've learned, you've gone through all the lessons. So part of that is getting rid of that judgment. You know, Jesus said, "Don't judge," and it starts with "Don't judge yourself." So part of that loving yourself is not judging yourself and not judging others, because that just leads to argue, blame, and complain, all the hatred, all the fear, all the anxiety, you know. So if you really want to love yourself, you don't judge. You don't judge yourself or anybody else. You accept. So we're back to that acceptance again, you know, and you allow. So I look at every moment as an opportunity to learn and grow. Every crisis or every problem that's coming at me, which I've had a lot lately, I've had to calm myself, center myself to my feeling, and say, what's it teaching me? What am I learning? How am I growing? And how can my response, my responsibility, how my response be of love and kindness and not of fear and anger and so on? So I'm learning that. It's like being a ninja. You know, ninja lessons for your heart, you know? And so I'm actually loving myself more, raising my frequency in the process. And then I'm trying to serve others in a better way instead of short-tempered anger, frustration, because everything's contagious. So if I put out anything negative, it comes back to me. And monkey see, monkey do. If you've got children or a family around you and you're being a jerk, guess what? You're teaching them all to be jerks, you know, to respond in fear and anger and so on. So tune your frequency. You can't be yelling at your child and saying, or hitting them and saying, "Don't hit." You can't do that and expect them to learn not to hit. You're hitting them well, we do that with love. We do that with everything. You know, you aren't giving me love. Well, are you loving yourself? Are you giving love? Are you sharing love? Are you being love? And so when we say love is the answer, it's a goofy thing, but it's the opposite of that fear. It's the opposite of that control. It's the opposite of judgment. You know, it's an action. So love is like God, peace, love, joy. It's all action. So if you want to be connected to God, you have to, you know, be in action, and God has to be in your life. It's same with love. Be in your life, you know, and look how you're responding, you know. Yeah.
Brian, thank you. I really enjoyed my time with you today, sir.
Thanks. I enjoyed it too. Always.
Shout out to your contacts again, my friend, please.
Well, I'm looking forward for you and I eventually to play some music together in the same room.
We will.
It's amazing. We get along so well, and yet you and I have never actually touched each other's hand or given each other a hug or been face to face ever in our lives. No. And I really have a good connection with you. I play mediocre drums, and I know you play extraordinary bass, but maybe we'll have a good connection when we do. So my thing, Brian David Hardin or BrianDHardin.com is my own personal thing, and that's just a bunch of, you know, silly stuff. The one thing that's cool on that website is 30 things about Brian. It's some funny things in there, but I think I also repeated that also is New Ways, and New Ways is the main thing, and it's spelled with a K, like you know something. K NEWWAYS, newways.com. And I also have New Ways, which is part of the YouTube. So YouTube, and then I think you put a little slash and a C and another slash and New Ways. But whatever. Just look around for on YouTube for New Ways, and you'll probably find a bunch of indigenous videos. Or if you go to mynewways.com, you'll find it that way. I actually will be creating this year Life's User Manual. I own lifesusermanual.com.
Love it.
And it's not a user manual for every little detail of life, because life is not a set of instructions. It's connecting to that feeling first that we just said, and that love first. And everybody has a different way of doing it. So what's right for me and what's right for you are two totally different things. It's just tuning your frequency to yum. There's no, so tune your frequency to the feeling of love, and that's the advice. All right. I love you,
Brian. Thank you. Listen, man, I've been having a vision for years. I never really thought about it. I just thought this was something fun that I'm doing, which is what you and I are doing now, radio show, TV show, whatever. But recently, what's coming into my field of awareness is I'm moving forward, whatever pace I need to and however I choose to make this into a very large experience. Not because of the bling bling and attention and popularity. That actually is part of it. Because hence the name of what I've been doing for years, Center of Light. I have the vision capacity and the balls and the drive to bring this into a platform where it is truly a center of light, where it is a hub for people to come in to feel connected. This is already happening, but I want this to be in a bigger way because I have a bigger message that's welling up inside of me thanks to Swamiji that I cannot contain. I can't stop the machine. In fact, people, when I'm in public and I'm on my phone, they say, "Do you ever stop?" I say, "I can't." I just can't stop.
It is your life.
It's my life, like yours, and you play it so well. The game of life, and
Wow.
Spin the wheel. Spin yourself off the karmic time wheel. Pass a code, collect $200. Happy Valentine's Day to you, my friend.
I love you. Thank you so much.
Blessings. Everyone, Mr. Brian D. Hardin, a.k.a. Paco. I want to share. I love it. Next week on Center of Light Radio, you may be familiar with this gentleman. Let me show you who this guy is. Check him out. Do y'all know that guy right there? His name is Steve Behrman. He started in the late 70s as he's a comic called Swami Bhayananda. He's hilarious. He uses comedy to bring forth amazing wisdom. Very, very cool. My name is Keith Anthony Blanchard. Live in love. Accept, allow, and appreciate everything. No judgment across the board with anything. And you too will see the light, the power, and you will feel the might that lives inside of you. Stay focused. Stay the course. I love you.
See inside.